He lit up cities, but died in a dark hotel room. His name sparks awe today, but in life, he was broke, buried by rivals, and all but forgotten. This is the story of the man who wired the world, yet couldn't hold it in his hands. I'm Trenton Keane, and this is Keane's Ledger, Canada's Unfiltered Past. He was born during a thunderstorm, July 10th, 1856. Midnight struck in the Croatian village of Smiljan just as lightning split the sky. A dramatic entrance maybe, but Nikola Tesla would spend the rest of his life chasing that flash. He would become one of the greatest inventors of all time, a pioneer of alternating current, the man who dreamed of wireless power and global energy grids, while others were still wiring lamps. Tesla's father, Milutin, was an Orthodox priest, a strict man fluent in half a dozen languages. His mother, Juka, had no formal education, but she invented household tools in her spare time. That combination, rigid intellect and free-form creativity, shaped the boy's world. As a child, Tesla built water wheels, memorized epic poetry, and suffered vivid hallucinations of light and motion. He later said these visions helped him invent, but they also haunted him. By age 17, he had a vision, not a metaphorical one, but an actual burst of insight. He saw a giant waterfall spinning a wheel and a motor powered by the current. Years later, he would make it real at Niagara Falls, but long before that came heartbreak, fevers, exile, rivalries, and one very famous elephant. Coming up in our podcast, the rise of alternating current and the war that nearly erased him from history. Stay tuned. It was the kind of night Nikola Tesla might have remembered later, if only for its quiet. Before the lightning storms, before the patents, just a boy with a mind like a cathedral. This is the story of where Tesla truly began, not with wires or circuits, but with words, silence, and memory. Nikola's father, Milutin Tesla, wasn't an inventor in the mechanical sense, but make no mistake, he built. He built minds. Milutin was a Serbian Orthodox priest, but also a poet, a philosopher, a man who believed the brain could be stretched, trained, and he tested that belief every day on his son. Daily memory drills, logic puzzles, verbal tests. This wasn't punishment, this was bonding, brain training, a father's love written in syllables and syllogisms. Now here's where it gets interesting. In 1873, the Austrian emperor himself recognized Milutin Tesla, granted him a charter for scholarly excellence. That's no small honor. Imagine a rural cleric from a Balkan frontier acknowledged by the crown for his intellect. It tells us something about the world young Nikola was born into, a house where intellect mattered, where learning was sacred. And then there's Juka, Georgina Juka, Mandich Tesla. She didn't attend school, she couldn't read or write, and yet she was a genius. Juka came from one of Lika's oldest families, known for their cleverness and creativity. She memorized epic Serbian poems the way most of us memorize a song chorus, but that wasn't even her most remarkable talent. She invented. Without formal training, without blueprints, she crafted tools, household devices, spinning aids, kitchen contraptions, all designed to ease the daily grind of rural life. These weren't toys, they were survival gear built by instinct, and years later Nikola would say this of her: she was an inventor of the first order. She invented and constructed all kinds of tools and devices. Imagine that. A world-famous scientist tipping his hat to his mother. So here it is, the origin story most people never hear. A father who shaped the mind, and a mother who shaped the world around her with her bare hands. It's tempting to see Tesla as a singular genius, lightning in human form, but even lightning has a source: clouds, pressure, friction. Tesla's spark? It didn't begin in a lab, it began in the quiet rituals of a rural home, in recited verses and puzzles after supper, in wooden tools carved by a mother who never read instructions because there were none. His brilliance wasn't born in isolation, it was inherited, forged, passed down through the stubborn hands and exacting minds of Milutin and Juka. The spark that lit the modern world, it began long before Niagara, it began in a house where memory, invention, and love quietly took root. Coming up, the tragedy of Dane Tesla. Nikola Tesla was the fourth of 5 children. He had 3 sisters, Milka, Angelina, and Marika, and one older brother, Dane. It was a quiet morning in Smiljan, a small village tucked into the hills of the Austrian Empire, what we now call Croatia. But for the Tesla family, the silence didn't last. A shriek of hooves, a boy's scream, and then nothing. In the summer of 1863, 12-year-old Dane Tesla was thrown from a horse. His injuries were grave, and within days, he was gone. The one they called gifted. The one they all believed would become the family's brightest light, snuffed out before his brilliance could fully burn, and in the shadows of that loss stood a 7-year-old boy, wide-eyed and silent. His name was Nikola. Now here's where it gets personal. Dane wasn't just the eldest, he was revered. Even at 12, Dane showed signs of genius, precocious, mathematical, intuitive. Their father, Milutin, a priest and poet, often marveled at Dane's intellect. Their mother, Juka, sharp as a tack in her own right, adored him. To little Nikola, Dane was everything. But that year, 1863, changed everything. Dane mounted a horse, as boys did in rural villages, and something spooked the animal. Some accounts, though never proven, suggest it was Nikola who startled the horse. A sudden movement, a shout. We'll never know for sure. But Tesla would carry the possibility with him forever. The loss devastated the family. Their home, once filled with energy, dimmed with grief. And Nikola, he withdrew. Imagine being 7 and watching your family grieve someone you loved and maybe, just maybe, someone you feel you helped lose. That kind of sorrow doesn't fade, it embeds. It lingers behind the eyes, it echoes in ambition. Tesla, who would go on to light cities, electrify the world, and revolutionize energy itself, never believed he was good enough. He once confided that whatever he achieved, it would never equal what Dane could have done. This wasn't just survivor's guilt, it was a lifelong shadow. A quiet belief that he was living someone else's destiny. So often we think of inventors in terms of diagrams and devices, but behind the brilliance, behind the patents and promises, there's often pain. For Nikola Tesla, that pain had a name, Dane. And maybe that's what drove him, the endless experiments, the sleepless nights, the pursuit of perfection, not just to change the world, but to justify his place in it, or maybe to make peace with the boy he once looked up to. Coming up, the early signs of a genius. It's the summer of 1873, and the air in Smiljan was thick with the scent of wet earth and sickness. Nikola Tesla lay in bed, fevered and pale, clinging to life as cholera ravaged his body. 9 months. That's how long the illness held him hostage. 9 months of pain, hallucinations, and near-death moments. And it was during one of those long nights when hope seemed threadbare that a promise broke through. His father, Milutin, the stern Orthodox priest, leaned in and offered what may have been the only medicine young Nikola needed. If you survive, he said, I will send you to the best engineering school in the empire. Tesla survived, and he didn't just survive. He came back with fire in his mind. With a steady diet of Mark Twain's books smuggled in during his illness, he fed an imagination already too large for the walls of his small Croatian village. To avoid being drafted into the Austro-Hungarian army, Tesla fled the lowlands and took refuge in the wild. He hid among the hills near Tomangaj, walking miles a day, breathing mountain air, and listening to the rush of cold water through limestone ravines. It was here, he would later say, that nature rebuilt him, physically yes, but also something deeper, something electrified. In 1875, with a military scholarship in hand, he entered the Imperial Royal Technical College in Graz. From the start, Tesla stunned his professors. He passed 9 exams in his first year, nearly double what was required. The dean called him a star of first rank, and in those classrooms, surrounded by chalkboards and the hum of early experiments, Tesla found his obsession, electricity. During one lecture, he listened intently as Professor Jacob Poschel demonstrated a clunky, sparking electric motor. Tesla raised his hand. He saw a way to make it better. But genius is a volatile thing, and Tesla's spark was beginning to flicker. By his 3rd year, the boy who once memorized entire textbooks was now gambling away his tuition in smoky cafes. He'd show up to class tired or not at all. Exams were missed. Letters went unanswered. By December 1878, he vanished from Graz without a diploma and without telling a soul. He would later say he was too ashamed to face his family. And yet, this was not the end. While the university chapter closed abruptly, Tesla's education didn't stop. He carried what he'd learned into the world, first into jobs in Europe, where he gained practical training in telegraphy and electrical engineering. It was during these years in the quiet corners of workrooms and train stations that his mind turned towards something radical, an alternating current system that could power the world. There's something tragic and beautiful in the image of young Tesla, broke, brilliant, walking alone from city to city with nothing but ideas, a dropout, a gambler, but also a visionary whose setbacks were never just endings, they were pivot points. And it all began with the father's promise made beside a sickbed and a mind electrified by Mark Twain. Stay tuned as Nikola Tesla takes America by storm. Well, almost. It's June of 1884 when a tall, gaunt man stepped off the gangway in New York City with only 4 cents to his name. No luggage, no friends, just a letter of introduction, and a mind on fire with ideas. Nikola Tesla had crossed the Atlantic battered by misfortunes, robbed during his journey, nearly turned back at the docks. But here he was, 28 years old and already carrying the seeds of the future in his pocket. Before long, that letter would lead him to a man who defined America's electric age, Thomas Edison. Tesla had spent the previous year in Paris working for the Continental Edison Company. In that time, he'd quietly improved dynamos and motors, machines that turned energy into motion. And people noticed, especially Charles Batchelor, Edison's trusted manager who supervised Tesla's work in France. It was Batchelor who brought Tesla across the ocean to the chaotic belly of innovation. The Edison machine works on Manhattan's Lower East Side. Picture it. A crowded factory floor humming with the clang of metal, the hiss of steam, and the shouts of foremen, hundreds of workers, 20 engineers, and one quiet inventor from the Austrian Empire, eyes sharp and notebooks full. Tesla was immediately put to work. He repaired faulty generators, optimized motor design, often through the night. It was the same job he had done in Paris, only now under the electric haze of New York's industrial push. One night, the generators aboard the ocean liner SS Oregon failed. Tesla was called in. He worked through the night, knee-deep in grease and copper, bringing the dynamos back to life before dawn. At 5 a.m, he returned to the workshop, filthy and exhausted. There, standing with Batchelor, was the man himself, Thomas Edison. Edison squinted at him and said with a grin, "Here's our Parisian, out all night." But when he heard what Tesla had done, the grin disappeared. He turned to Batchelor and muttered, "This is a damn good man." From that moment, Tesla had Edison's attention. Over the next year, Tesla worked almost without rest from 10:30 in the morning until 5 a.m. of the next. He redesigned 24 types of standard machines, replacing Edison's aging models with sleeker, more efficient ones. Edison, impressed, made a promise. $50,000 if Tesla could complete the overhaul. And Tesla did, every machine, every spec. But when he asked about the money, Edison laughed. He said it had all been a joke. "Tesla," he told him, "you don't understand our American humor." Tesla didn't laugh. He walked away, resigned that day. It wasn't just about the money. It was about trust and two very different ways of seeing the world. Edison, practical, profit-driven, protecting the systems he'd already built. Tesla, idealistic, imaginative, driven by visions of a better future for all. This moment marked a split not just between two inventors, but between two ideologies. And it wouldn't be the last time they clashed. So here's the image to hold on to. A man arrives in a new world with only 4 cents, a bundle of dreams, and nowhere to sleep. Within months, he's reshaping the machines that power a city. Within years, he'll light up the world in ways no one could yet imagine. Coming up, Tesla's partnership with Westinghouse. Stay tuned. It was a bright spring morning in 1888 when Nikola Tesla walked into a crowded lecture hall in New York. He wasn't wearing a lab coat, he had no dramatic props, just a paper and an idea that could change the world. He took the podium and began a new system of alternating current motors and transformers. To most in the audience, this was technical jargon, but one man leaned forward, listening carefully. His name was George Westinghouse. Tesla had come a long way since storming out of Edison's workshop, burned by a broken promise. Soon after, he launched the Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing Company, his first attempt at independence, but it wasn't the victory he'd hoped for. Investors were wary. They didn't want blueprints of alternating current motors. They wanted bulbs, switches, things they could sell. They saw Tesla's ideas as too theoretical, too risky, so the money dried up. Tesla broke again, turned inward, but he didn't give up. Now here's where it gets interesting. In that 1888 lecture hall, as Tesla calmly laid out his designs for a complete polyphase AC system, Westinghouse didn't see risk. He saw revolution. Soon after he visited Tesla's lab there in a modest workshop, Tesla showed him a working model, a dynamo to generate alternating current, transformers to step the voltage up and down, and the centerpiece, a polyphase induction motor running smoothly with no sparks or commutators. It was elegant, efficient. Ahead of its time, Westinghouse was stunned. He didn't just offer compliments, he made a deal. Westinghouse purchased the rights to Tesla's alternating current system, 40 core U.S. patents, for $65,000. A massive sum at the time, but still a bargain for what it would bring. You see, back in 1883, while still in Europe, Tesla had already conceived the idea for the induction motor. By 1888, he had a working half-horsepower model. This wasn't theory, this was the future, humming quietly on a wooden table. Westinghouse saw it clearly. If Edison had lit the bulb, Tesla could light entire cities. So imagine that scene again. A man once dismissed, now shaking hands with an industrial giant. A handshake that would ignite the war of currents and eventually power the modern world. All because Tesla stayed the course even when the lights seemed to go out. Coming up, Edison counterattacks. Stay tuned. Just after sunset on May 1st, 1893, when President Grover Cleveland flipped a ceremonial switch, and then night turned into day. More than 160,000 light bulbs sparked to life across the Chicago sky. The crowd gasped. Some cheered. Others just stared, mouths open, as electric light bathed the sprawling grounds of the World's Columbian Exposition. This was more than spectacle. It was a declaration, a message to the world that the future would run on alternating current. But to understand how we got to that brilliant moment in Chicago, we need to look back to a battle waged not just in labs and boardrooms, but in the court of public opinion. After Nikola Tesla's technology was adopted by George Westinghouse, Thomas Edison recognized a threat to his empire. Edison had built his name and fortune on direct current, DC, but AC Tesla's system could travel farther more efficiently and with fewer wires. So Edison fought back. He launched a campaign not just to compete, but to terrify. Enter Harold Brown, an engineer who became the front man for a dark publicity war. Brown was paid by Edison's backers to show how dangerous alternating current was. He conducted public demonstrations, often using stray dogs collected from city streets by children he paid in coins. Each dog was strapped down and killed using Tesla's AC system. It was gruesome, deliberately theatrical, and it didn't stop there. Despite publicly opposing capital punishment, Edison secretly financed the creation of the first electric chair, powered, of course, by alternating current. He even helped coin a word meant to shame his rivals, Westinghoused. It meant death by electrocution, but Tesla and Westinghouse held their ground. And in 1893, the tide turned. That year, the city of Chicago planned a World's Fair, the World's Columbian Exposition, to mark the 400th anniversary of Columbus's voyage. It would be the grandest international event of its era, a showcase of industry, science, and spectacle. The organizers needed power, lots of it. Edison bid $554,000 to electrify the fair with his DC system. Westinghouse, using Tesla's AC patents, came in at $399,000. They won. And when the fair opened, it dazzled the world. 3 massive dynamos generated more electricity than the entire city of Chicago normally consumed. Over 200,000 light bulbs glowed with steady brilliance. For many visitors, it was their first time seeing electric light, and it was Tesla's current lighting the way. Tesla himself arrived in August for the International Electrical Congress. There, inside a specially darkened room in the Westinghouse exhibit, he gave personal demonstrations. He lit lamps without wires. He spun a copper egg on end using a rotating magnetic field, the Egg of Columbus display. It was part science, part theater, and all brilliance. That exposition didn't just decide the war of currents. It redefined electricity itself, not as a dangerous curiosity, but as a public utility, as something essential to modern life. And it cemented Tesla's alternating current as the foundation for the world's power grid. So picture it again, a switch flipped, a city illuminated, and behind it all, the mind of a man once dismissed, now quietly reshaping the modern world.